Welcome to English Story Vault. Get ready, everyone, because this story will take you on an exciting adventure. Let the story begin. A massive and sudden conflict erupted in the Middle East, marking a perilous period as two significant nations directly attacked each other. These nations, Iran and Israel, engaged in swift and largely unannounced hostilities. The conflict began with an Israeli strike against Iran. Israel deployed its military might to target specific locations within Iran. These were substantial attacks. Following Israel's initial move, Iran opted for a robust retaliation. Iran launched a large volley of missiles, sending many towards Israel. This missile assault was a direct response to Israel's action. This exchange represented a major turning point, signifying the most significant direct military confrontation between Iran and Israel in many years, distinguishing itself from prior, minor disputes. The scale and direct nature of the conflict between the two nations caused widespread alarm, particularly among people in the Middle East, who feared it could rapidly escalate into a broader war involving more countries. The situation generated immense tension and fear in both Iran and Israel. City residents prepared for potential attacks as the dread of a widening regional conflict became acutely real. The world closely monitored this grave moment, anticipating how this sudden and severe conflict would unfold. It was a time of extreme danger. Israel named its attack. It was called Operation Rising Lion, a formidable and unexpected strike. Israel employed over 200 planes and drones for this operation, launching them into Iran early on the morning of June 13, 2025. Israel had secretly planned this attack for months. The planes and drones struck numerous sites across Iran, primarily aiming at locations where Iran might be developing nuclear weapons, as Israel believes Iran seeks such a capability. A key target was Natanz, a significant site associated with Iran's nuclear program. Israel struck the above-ground section of Natanz. This section housed numerous centrifuges, special machines used to enrich nuclear material, a vital step for nuclear weapon development. Israel's attack extensively damaged or destroyed many of these machines and their building, along with other critical parts of the Natanz facility, such as its power systems. An international nuclear watchdog group inspected Natanz post-attack, confirming severe damage or destruction to the above-ground structure. However, they also stated the surrounding area was safe with no dangerous nuclear material spread. Israel also targeted other nuclear sites in various parts of Iran. One such location was near Isfahan, and another was Fordo, a nuclear facility built deep inside a mountain, making it exceptionally difficult to attack effectively. Beyond nuclear facilities, Israel also targeted key personnel, including high-ranking Iranian military commanders and several nuclear scientists, who were killed during the assault. Israel declared its objective was to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, driven by extreme concern that Iran was nearing nuclear bomb capability. Consequently, Israel launched this preemptive strike, asserting its necessity to safeguard its own country and impede Iran's nuclear progress. It was a powerful and surprising attack by Israel. Iranian leaders were caught off guard by its magnitude and speed, having not anticipated an attack at that specific time, some believing it might occur later, post-negotiations. This miscalculation left Iran unprepared for the onset of the attack. Many important Iranian figures perished in the strikes, including several high-ranking army leaders and crucial nuclear scientists, representing a significant blow to Iran's defense. Iran's lack of preparedness was a critical error. Key military leaders remained in their regular homes or held meetings in vulnerable locations, failing to relocate to fortified strongholds, which made them easy targets. One senior staff meeting was hit, resulting in no survivors. Israel appeared to possess extensive intelligence regarding Iran's geography and sensitive sites, having deployed secret agents inside Iran months prior. These agents pre-positioned small bombs or drones, which activated concurrently with Israel's main assault. These hidden assets targeted radar stations and anti-aircraft missile sites, enabling Israeli planes to traverse Iranian airspace unimpeded. This demonstrated Israel's meticulous planning and Iran's complete surprise. Residents in Tehran, the capital, experienced shock and confusion, unable to comprehend how Israel could strike so many deeply internal targets. The attacks exposed significant vulnerabilities in Iran's security. Some Iranians were frightened and began to question their government's ability to protect them, witnessing the rapid elimination of numerous critical military leaders. Some felt the government prioritized allies in other countries over Iran's own defense. This major surprise attack caused widespread shock and uncertainty in Iran, diminishing its sense of security and revealing its unpreparedness for a large, rapid assault on its territory. Following Israel's substantial attack, Iran's supreme leader expressed profound anger, declaring that Israel had initiated a war and that Iran must retaliate. Iran thus launched Operation Severe Punishment, dispatching numerous ballistic missiles towards Israel. Although planning to send many, fewer than 100 missiles were fired in the initial wave. These missiles soared through the sky towards various locations in Israel, including cities like Tel Aviv and military installations. In Israel, loud sounds echoed, instilling widespread fear. Israel's Iron Dome and other defense systems attempted to intercept Iran's missiles, successfully stopping most, though some hit targets in Israel, causing explosions. Buildings were damaged in areas like Tel Aviv, and people in Israel were injured. At least 2 people died, and dozens more were hurt by debris or impacts. Residents sought immediate refuge in safe rooms or shelters, enduring a frightening period. Iran's army claimed to have inflicted strong and precise hits on many Israeli targets, subsequently launching additional missile waves. This marked Iran's powerful response to Israel's attack, and the largest direct missile assault Iran had ever launched against Israel. The major conflict between Iran and Israel drew global attention, sparking widespread concern among countries that feared a wider, regional war. This was a perilous time for the Middle East. The USA, a strong ally of Israel, declared its support for Israel's right to self-defense, but explicitly stated it was not involved in Israel's initial attack on Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump publicly commented that Iran must negotiate on its nuclear program. The USA bolstered its military presence in the area to protect its forces and assist Israel if Iran launched further attacks. European countries also monitored the situation closely. European leaders voiced deep concern about the violence, urging Iran and Israel to cease hostilities immediately. They emphasized the critical importance of de-escalation and pursuing dialogue, hoping for the return of peace. Russia and China, major global powers, also played significant roles. Russia, with its ties to Iran, condemned Israel's initial attack and expressed worry that the fighting would intensify and spread. China likewise conveyed deep concern, calling for calm from both sides and an end to the conflict. Both Russia and China appeared to assign blame to Israel for initiating this major problem. Prior to this conflict, international discussions were underway with Iran regarding its nuclear program, aiming to prevent it from developing nuclear weapons. However, these crucial talks ceased due to the attacks and subsequent responses, making a peaceful resolution more challenging. Many Middle Eastern countries, neighbors to Iran and Israel, were also deeply apprehensive about the fighting, fearing its expansion into their territories. Some of these nations covertly assisted in intercepting missiles fired by Iran towards Israel, while publicly advocating for calm. Iran also has regional allies who often engage in indirect conflict with Israel. However, when the direct confrontation between Iran and Israel commenced, these allies did not launch major attacks to support Iran. Groups like Hezbollah, a powerful entity near Israel, did not open a new front of conflict, suggesting either their inability to provide significant aid in this direct fight or their fear of igniting a much larger war that would also harm them. The world awaited the next developments, hoping for a swift cessation of hostilities. The region faced extremely high danger. The conflict between Iran and Israel inflicted sorrow and hardship upon many. In Iran, reports indicated numerous fatalities and hundreds wounded from the attacks. Images from Iranian cities showed damaged buildings, and some families were forced to evacuate unsafe homes. Widespread fear gripped the population during the assaults, In Israel, the pain of the conflict was also felt. Iranian missiles struck populated areas, killing at least 2 people and injuring many others. Some residential buildings sustained severe damage. Air raid sirens prompted Israelis to rush to bomb shelters and safe rooms, where they waited for the danger to pass. The fear was palpable for men, women, and children in both nations. The fighting not only harmed people and infrastructure, but also impacted the economy, the system by which countries generate and utilize wealth. During conflict, normal business operations are disrupted. In Israel, some flights were canceled. Iranians also experienced economic hardship, with reports of long lines for gasoline and a decline in the value of their currency. The conflict further affected global oil prices. As much of the world's oil originates in the Middle East, concerns about supply disruptions caused oil prices to surge. This meant that oil-dependent activities like driving became more expensive for people worldwide, not just in the Middle East. Thus, the war extended beyond armies and missiles, encompassing lost lives, injuries, fear in homes, and economic struggles. The conflict's repercussions spread far beyond the immediate battlegrounds. Many hoped for a swift end to the fighting, allowing life to return to normalcy and safety. The large-scale conflict between Iran and Israel stemmed from several significant, historically rooted reasons. One primary cause was Israel's profound apprehension regarding Iran's nuclear ambitions. Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, frequently asserted that Iran acquiring nuclear weapons posed an existential threat to Israel. For years, Israel had conducted clandestine operations to impede Iran's nuclear and missile programs. However, new intelligence indicated that Iran was rapidly producing bomb-grade materials and nearing nuclear capability. Israel felt compelled to act before Iran reached an irreversible point. The timing was also crucial because recent international talks about Iran's nuclear program, particularly with the United States, had been unsuccessful, leading Israel to believe diplomacy was insufficient. Iran, in turn, had strong justifications for its missile retaliation. Iran stated that Israel initiated the hostilities with a major attack on Iranian soil. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and other officials described Israel's strike as a declaration of war, asserting Iran's clear right to self-defense and retaliation against this aggression. Israel's surprise attack, which killed important military leaders and damaged key sites, fueled Iran's strong imperative to respond forcefully. They sought to punish Israel and demonstrate Iran's strength and refusal to be attacked without reprisal. This response was also vital for Iran's leaders to demonstrate their commitment to protecting their own people. This conflict is also part of a long and complex history of rivalry between Iran and Israel, spanning decades and often manifested through proxies in regions like Syria or Lebanon. The underlying issues between them have been escalating for an extended period. Other Middle Eastern countries, with their own complex alliances and disputes involving Iran and Israel, are also intricately linked to this situation. The direct conflict between these two nations could profoundly impact the entire region. Both sides employed modern combat techniques in this conflict, including drones for attacks and intelligence gathering, and conducted sophisticated covert operations. Therefore, the conflict arose from Israel's deep-seated fear of Iran obtaining nuclear weapons, and Iran's strong conviction that it had to defend itself and retaliate after being attacked. These reasons are intertwined with a long history of problems and tensions between the two countries, highlighting the challenging and dangerous situation in the Middle East. In the aftermath of the attacks, the critical question remains: what happens next? The scale of the fighting underscores the capacity for both countries to inflict harm, but also the inherent danger of the situation. Now, leaders in Israel and Iran face agonizing choices. Should they escalate or de-escalate? Israel believes it must prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons and may consider further strikes to push back the Iranian threat. Israeli leaders have indicated a willingness to continue their actions. However, another Israeli attack could provoke an even stronger Iranian retaliation. Even if Iran's military was damaged, it retains the capacity to fight back, perhaps not with numerous missiles, but through other means. Iran possesses alternative Options such as attacking ships at sea, launching cyber attacks, or employing covert operations. Further fighting would inevitably lead to more casualties and destruction, potentially escalating into a much larger war. This is an incredibly difficult decision for both sides. Other nations are closely monitoring the situation. The United States, a major and powerful ally of Israel, has seen President Donald Trump express support for Israel's security. He has also warned Iran that it must negotiate on its nuclear program or face potentially more brutal consequences. The United States has deployed Navy ships to the vicinity of the Middle East to protect American forces and stand ready to assist Israel's defense if necessary. While the United States aims to deter Iran, it does not desire a full-scale regional war. The next steps taken by the United States are critical. The entire Middle East is in a precarious state. The conflict between Iran and Israel is like a spark that could rapidly ignite. Neighboring countries are deeply concerned, fearing the war will reach their borders and wishing to avoid involvement. Some have urged both sides to cease hostilities immediately. The Houthi group, allied with Iran, has already attempted attacks on Israel, illustrating how the conflict can draw in other groups and nations. The danger extends beyond just two countries. It threatens the entire surrounding region. Dialogue remains the optimal path to end the fighting, but negotiations are currently fraught with difficulty. Crucial talks regarding Iran's nuclear program halted with the onset of the attack, complicating the situation. Many countries worldwide are striving to help. European nations have called for calm, and major powers like Russia and China, concerned for global peace, desire a swift end to the conflict. The United Nations also advocates for peace. However, leaders in Iran and Israel are under immense pressure from their own populations, having suffered military and civilian losses. It is challenging for them to engage in talks amidst such anger and fear. They must find a way to de-escalate. Global peace in this region is essential. A widening conflict could have global repercussions, including soaring oil prices and an increased need for humanitarian aid and displacement. Many around the world hope and pray for peace, not further war. Leaders must exercise extreme caution in their next moves. They must strive to find a path back to dialogue, however difficult it may seem now. Perhaps other nations can facilitate meetings or convey messages. Stopping the fighting is the paramount first step to saving lives and preventing further damage. The future remains uncertain. Will they find a way to end the fighting soon? Or will the danger escalate, drawing more countries into the conflict? The choice is theirs.